Hey guys, so today we are answering a subscriber question, and the question in question was, Frederick, do you see tech recruiting practices changing in the future? So let's get into it. So the person who asked this question basically had a little bit of a context speaking about basically tech recruiters. Well, for those of you who may not, who are just kind of starting out, it may come as a bit of a shock that tech recruiters are, well, not all of them are, of course, but tech recruiting is a very shady business in IT. It is, I have met some truly, I'm not going to say too much, but let's say that a few people who really flirt with the moral gray zone, and people are in, it's a very shady business. Let's just call it that. So basically, a few of the, like the most common things as it stands today that this person in question is kind of referring to, like which, practices that may or may hope, well, according to this person, well, should probably change, are things such as tech recruiters have, depending on which one you talk to, because there's quite a lot of one-man or one-woman companies, and there are quite a few people who work for really large companies in recruitment. So they will do everything from just spam you with completely irrelevant job positions. They will harass you with, just keep on pushing things to you. I mean, at this point, most of the tech recruiters that at least I get contacted by, and like it's just a newsletter at this point. They have, and I know this for a fact, they have completely automated systems that they have paid versions of LinkedIn accounts and things of that nature, where they can basically mass market to developers. So if they tell you you're special, it's very unlikely that you are special. You're probably simply you're simply on their massive automated list of things that they push to people. And this is, this is how most of them do it. They simply harass you until a point they get someone who is actually interested in the position. And from the job provider's perspective, it's also it's a shady business, because the unfortunate situation of tech recruiters as it stands today is that as a company, when you try to hire a tech recruiter, you have no guarantees what type of candidates this person is going to provide to you. And I've seen more than a few of them simply push every single goddamn person they can find through the door, because they believe that, they play the numbers game. They simply push people on, like they don't care about your office culture or anything like that. They simply keep on pushing. Now that is not very unlikely going to be a good idea for the tech recruiter, but they simply don't. Well, I don't know if it's that they ignore it or they don't have an understanding of how to keep their customers happy, but I have some thoughts on that as well. But this is it's extremely common, and when you have a few years on your CV, this is going to be it's going to be the norm. You should see quite a lot of attention if you have some experience, because it's absolutely crazy. I mean, the craziest stuff that I have ever seen is like recruiters will, and this was at my last job as well. I had the support staff call me a few times and ask if I was in the office, and just basically ask me, there's this woman who keeps on calling the support staff at Ticketmaster, which is like a gigantic super corporation with thousands and thousands of people calling in, and they're asking for me by name, and and this is a recruiter, all she wants is to talk to me so that she can do her client pitch. I've seen other stuff at the company that I work in right now where they call in fake that they are, basically ask for me, and they fake that they are a job provider for some coworker that I used to have. And they were basically asking me for a reference so that they can get me on the phone. They do all kinds of stuff. Everything. Now the newest trend that I've seen, which is kind of funny as well, is like now they're not, apart from of course saying that I'm special and they don't usually contact people in this manner and yada yada, which is kind of funny because if they don't just cold call you, which is something that they now try to say, it's kind of funny because I have the history of all the other messages they've already sent me, so I already know that they apparently do this quite often. And the latest one is that they simply send out requests for information as to the sorts of things that I would consider to be attractive things in a job provider, so that they can figure out basically what my needs are for changing my job. Because the scarcity of developers at this point is so immensely high that you can basically, as a job provider, you can completely forget about getting anything, like any type of quality developers at least, unless you have a good employer branding, which the recruiters are now trying to help their clients understand. Like that's probably the new trend that's going to come around, where they try to coach their clients into becoming more attractive as in terms of employer branding. That's how crazy it is. It's so crazy that more conservative organizations that don't really need programmers, good programmers, but they really don't have much in terms to offer a programmer apart from a salary, now need to rethink their company's style in order to actually get somebody of worth. Because as you can imagine, for a recruiter, if most of the programmers are already spoken for by other companies, it's a very tricky thing to get them to switch from what they have to something new, unless that something new is going to be quite a lot better. But the recruiter has the client they have, and if the client isn't really attractive, it's a hard sell to make. So the basic question is, will this change? And the unfortunate situation, I think, is that no, I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. And the reason is very similar as to why how the telephone companies, or like the cold calling companies, where basically telemarketing, like all of that stuff, it works the same way, and it has been working for years for one very good reason, and that is that it works. For all this bullshit and all this hassle that comes with this recruiter business, I'm sorry to say that it works. If you look at it from the perspective of the recruiter, so statistically, a developer will stick around at one given company these days for roughly 2 years. Now, it doesn't require a math genius to figure out that if those are the numbers, a recruiter will simply need a portfolio of a few hundred people or a few hundred candidates to be able to very consistently start a process of moving one person from one company to another, because that is basically their business. So by simply spamming people in a continuous manner, and playing the numbers game, they will finally get a sales. I mean, the law of averages apply here. They simply need to keep at it, and even if they're absolutely crap at their job, sooner or later they're going to get somebody. And the problem, and the issue with that is that even from the company's perspective, having a recruiter, usually these recruiters, they don't really get into this mindset of, a customer quality type of experience, unless they know that this customer is going to do it like a mass hire. Then they try to extend that relationship a little bit. But most of it is like a one-off deal. They recruit 1 or 2 people and then they move on to the next client. And that kind of sets the mindset kind of quickly. As I was saying, they will contact you, they will push completely irrelevant people into for the company and just have them interview a bunch of people who have almost no relevancy. I don't know how many times I've had candidates come in the door, and it's like we thought we gave very specific instructions to the source of people that we're looking for, and none of these things apply to that individual, and it just keeps on happening. And the simple reason is because if the recruiter's having a hard time finding people, at the very least, if they're really stupid, they're just going to think about, all right, well, these people have some type of relevancy, I'll just push as many people, and maybe they will pick some of these candidates because, hey, the client or we as the client may not actually know what it is that we want. So there's a lot of incentive for programmers for the recruiters to try to get programmers of quality, well, not always quality, but any programmer in front of the company, because, hey, They might not know the tools that we need and not have the right value system, but they can learn, right? Doesn't matter if you kind of waste your client's time, right? Because we still need to interview the person. And some of them do like really, really sneaky stuff there where, you know, we find a client, or we find a candidate by ourselves, and they figure out that this person is in the pipe, and then they go behind our backs, talk to that person and try to basically get them to sign off on them representing them towards the company so that they can make some extra money. Basically, well, you know, just to make us pay them for a candidate that found us as an inbound lead. And as I said, because it kind of works, because people are finding programmers this way, I don't see it changing. It's a bit of an unfortunate situation. And some will claim that, you know, companies should just do their own in-house hiring. And maybe if you are a really big company, or you have the resources to have a full-time HR department that just does this like all the time, you can. But most smaller companies and companies who don't really have a process for this, I mean, for them on paper at least, it looks like a really good deal, because they hire somebody for a short period of time that will help them with their recruitment. They get that staff in, and then they can, you know, just kind of terminate that relationship for now, at least until they need more people. So it's a bit of an, like, it's because you may not think so, but it's actually pretty hard to allocate resources and like figure out all the stuff that you need in order to hire a person. It's a full-time job to hire people in IT. And if you can pay some consultant or like some recruiter to do that, that for a lot of companies it's a very nice thing. So but the issue is, of course, that it's a bit of a gamble, because there's so many things that can go wrong with this approach. But unfortunately, it works well enough. So what I want you to take away from this is that as for the practices, the really shady practices of quite a lot of people in recruitment these days, I don't see that changing anytime soon. And as a developer and as a company, you should be very careful about the recruitment business, because some of them are nice, but quite a lot of them are like, they are like the scum of the earth, some of them, like the shadiest businesses you can imagine. It's a bit of a gamble when you use recruiters. They are a necessary evil at this point, and hopefully some type of structure and morals will find their way into this business. But I wouldn't hold my breath, because, as I said, this works, like this direct cold calling people and spamming people. It works for this. It's like telemarketing. It's a shady business, but it works. I'm sorry to say. Have a great day.